Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Ascension Messages. My name is Bobby, and I will be your guide for today. Welcome to my new abode. Okay, I'm going to be channeling some messages through what actually I've written down quite a few over the week, and they're all really different, but there's kind of an underlining value to it, but they're all very deep. So we will go into those in a minute. I've written a lot down on my phone. I don't know whether I'm going to follow the phone or just channel, but we will channel through some messages as well for sure. Because I spent like an hour or so just writing up all this information that they're talking about. Hey, Zen Debbie, good to see you. Also, I am an intuitive counselor. If you want a one-on-one reading, a soul reading with me, then just click the link below. I also have a school called AMAKEL, and that school is, I'm going to be putting up another lesson. And one of them is going to be a free. So I usually do 3 telepathic games all together. All with the same game, but all different choices. And one of them will be free for like a Christmas gift, but also for those members that are just signed up as free members. I have a lot of free members. So I will, put one of them as free. The other 2 won't be. And you can just have a look to see whether you want to, invest a few dollars a month into the school or not. So that's happening. Hi, Cherie. Good to see you there. And Tonyan, good to see you. Okay, we're going to get into, this channeling. It's going to be I think it's a little different because they're kind of like all over the show. I don't know whether we're all going to tie it all together or not, but we will go through each message and see what happens. So the first message was about that there's a lot of contradicting ideas at the moment. I'm reading this off my phone, by the way, it's under my notes. But there's a lot of contradicting ideas at the moment, a lot of judgment because of this. This is because humanity is finding more conscious alignments or stories that are like stepping stones out of the old program, ideas that work for them in this moment, but maybe not for another. And we've got to be careful of that because someone might be following a certain idea and you're like, oh my God, I passed that like 10 years ago. But then they jump from that idea to something that you haven't even passed. So it's all intermingled. We're all doing this for our own good. Our souls finally starting to get a grasp on how to help guide us. And with that, it jumps, excuse me, from one thing to another all the time because we're clearing enough of our logical mind to go, well, the logical story is not working anymore. And you can see that out in reality. You can see that people are like, even scientists, and there's nothing logical about this. There's nothing logical about 3i Atlas and the way that it's moving. The logic is starting to realize that there's something more going on beneath what it understands, that masculine side of yourself that's only looked outside of itself to find, to work out what reality is all about. There is a core truth, but it has to be met. And even the core truth are telling me it will be met at a higher perspective. But then even when you get to that perspective, that truth, when you look down, won't be the truth when you go into a higher perspective. But there is a core truth above. It's like a covering of all truths. For humanity's growth and their story, their history, everything. There's this, but you cannot reach that core truth, that one that overrides like everything, unless you step out of your smallness, your limited beliefs of why didn't you do the right way that I did? Why didn't you follow my way of clearing myself? And all that judgment-y type of scenario. So they really want to bring us to this because they want us to realize if you're still judging, then you are you are not in a higher perspective and understanding the core overview truth of what's been going on in humanity. I'm going to give you an example because they gave me an example so that you'd understand, because this is what I mean by going really deep. So there is this core truth, but it has to be met at an energetic level as the observer, as you will only understand the truth once you step out of your beliefs for a moment and look at everything from a higher perspective. Now, let me give you an example. I'm going to choose the year 1800. Not for any reason other than it was during a time where humanity was out of balance. You know, the masculine was more in charge and that sort of thing. And we've been going through that out of balanceness for quite some time. It's not just 1800, okay? If we take a perspective from a tribal member that's and a royal person that's living on Earth at the same time, so in 1800, there still would have been tribes out there, like in Africa and that were hidden in caves or whatever, and working with the earth and understanding the earth a bit more. And then there would have been the royalty. That was a completely different story, right? And they're living on the earth at the same time. These are all totally different stories, but underlining all of that is a truth. And you can see that truth if you raise your perspective into an observer of what's going on for humanity in the overall belt. This truth is, and it was because we're shifting out of it now, that the feminine connection, or the inner world, the feeling world, the intuitive world, fell, and there was an uprising of the masculine, which created a one-sided reality of only looking at this world as a physical way. And it also drove the masculine tribal members to be more in charge than the feminine as well. If you looked overall, the energy was that on the whole of the planet, because that was the energy of the story of humanity. And so even those tribal members felt that fall in a different way. It wasn't the same as the royal people and all that sort of stuff. It probably even went further than those tribal members, but there was an underlying energy that meant that the masculine was going to be in charge. They still had, the men are in charge kind of thing. It didn't matter where you were on Earth in that time, you were going through the same energetic story. So you could say they all live in their own true story relevant to themselves. But from a point of view of a tribal person who never met a royal in that lifetime of the 1800s, if they did meet, though, they wouldn't understand each other's reality and could easily judge one another, see? So, the royalty now sees the tribal members and they're like, oh, you're way behind us. And the tribal members are like still a little bit more connected to Earth and understanding Earth. And they're like, oh, where the hell are you going? So there's that judgment that comes in because they're only looking from their own perspective. But if you raise your awareness to a higher observer point of view and you look at the whole overall story, you see that both are actually misaligned with their feminine side, because that was the energy that humanity has gone through. No matter where you were, you would have gone through, it would have affected you. And remember what my teen said, even if you did understand that truth, then if you understood that truth, then you could raise your level again to another observer point of view. In other words, holding more wisdom and understanding of even that. And even that would change in a totally different perspective of the fact that the feminine and the masculine power did have a squiff moment there in humanity's reality and our history. Okay, now we bring this back to these days when we are all going through a huge shift and finding different ways to awaken our feminine inner power to unite with our masculine outer power. Then those that are trying to debunk other people's truths are coming from a judgment because they have not yet seen the whole picture and recognize that they are seeking to evolve to that higher understanding where judgment ceases to exist. as it is replaced with understanding that we are all learning to align and unite again, that all people are coming from their own value of what is working for them in this moment. And so that stops all judgment. But I have noticed a lot on Facebook, social media, and all of that sort of stuff, that there's people going, you are wrong for thinking this way or believing this way or expressing yourself in this way. And if you are doing that to somebody else and trying to put them down because you're feeling a bit small yourself, then you have to look at yourself and go, well, I'm in the same level as them because I'm judging them. If anything, you're lower than them in that respect because you're judging them. Now, there are healthy judgments, obviously. There's healthy judgments, but we're not going into those at the moment. I'm talking about the judgments that are just not very nice. You know, we don't need to have that sort of energy in our reality anymore. And then they went on to say, my team, so if you're judging another on how they work through their life by putting them down because they aren't where you are, then this means, yeah, that's what I was saying, then this means that you are at the same vibration as them because, well, as what you perceive them to be, as what you perceive them to be. So you're judging something, right? So that's your vibration, not theirs, because to be at a clearer vibe or not, or seeing all from a higher perspective, this gives you a clearer understanding and all judgment falls away. Okay, then they went on to say this. There's a lot that I wrote down on my phone. I will tune into them, and the energy at the moment is really like in your face. Look at this crap now. Come on, guys, look at this crap. It's really in your face. Then they went on to say, when you're in competition with another, you are in competition with yourself because the other is on their own unique journey, and so are you. So in truth, there is no competition. You can't compete with the uniqueness of another person's value. And as they're working through, even if they're working through their shadow stuff, as well. But you can't compete like, oh, they're way up there and they've got all of this. They could have a bucket load of money in their bank. They could have everything that they desired physically. But mentally, they're struggling. They're still having nightmares. They're still waking up in the middle of the night. And yet they're hiding that. And then you are competing with it. Like, why would you compete with something like that when you maybe the other side of the field where you're like, I don't have the nightmares anymore. I feel really clear in my head. I know how to navigate my own mind, but still I'm learning how to ground my abundance. And so why would I compete with somebody that seemingly got, I'd say, for instance, a lot of subscribers or whatever, being, coming from my own place? Why would I compete with that? This is my journey. I've decided, my soul has decided upon my journey. It's unique to me. And then I have to value that journey for me to keep on moving forward. Because as soon as I stop and try to compete with someone, I'm pulled into the wrong energy field again. I'm losing who I am. And I'm not trusting my own path. The path that I created from a soul's perspective of how to navigate my life. Like, I'm literally getting goosebumps here because it's like I'm telling myself, and myself's like, oh my God, I'm getting it. These aha moments, right? So there is no competition. Literally competing against another was part of the program pulled over humanity's eyes to think that somebody outside of you is better off than you, and they never. You'll find most of them aren't. We're all in different levels. We're all going through different things, but to look at one aspect of one person's life and say you're competing against that when you're not seeing them as a whole person and everything that they're going through, and you probably never will, because unless you are meeting them at source energies level, then but from your small mind, it's very difficult to. That's where judging competition needs to fall away for us to raise ourselves into these higher frequencies. Right, now we're going to get into a few other different things, and I think we go full circle back to that. But Then they started talking about technology, and technology being a mere reflection of what we can achieve from within us if we have a clear mind. There is nothing outside of us that wasn't imagined from within us. As to imagine something means your body already has this ability, because it comes from your body, it comes from your imagination. Your imagination is part of your mind, your soul, your body, everything. It's that vessel that you are in. And so source energy in its infinite right has created your body to be able to bring through all imaginings from your body. That's all you need, is your vessel to be able to navigate this reality, to find nutrients, to be able to shift stories that are coming at you that are wrong, and all that sort of stuff very quickly. And even to the point of, if you can imagine, teleportation, that you can do that from your body can actually do this. You can achieve this, because everything, then you just go back to your energetic value. You are energy, you are love going on a journey. Now, what journey do you want? But then you have to really have navigated your logical mind to have let go of the reality that you're in this moment, the physical reality you're in this moment, and reform it in the reality that you want to teleport to. It's totally different. So, yeah, you just haven't been taught to access this. Instead, you've been taught to look for all of this, its existence, any imagining that you have. You've been taught to only look outside of your body for that existence. So I imagine something amazing, something magical. I'll look for a device I'll create a device, or I'll look for a device, or I'll look for a herb outside of me, or whatever, that's going to take me into, being able to astral travel, or whatever it is that you're really imagining. You look for something outside of you for that, because that's how humanity was brought up, through the masculine mind being in charge. That was the program poured over us. But the source energy is telling me in this message, and the Cyanians came through, that there is nothing that we cannot imagine, that even especially if we've created a device outside of us, that we cannot do within our body. Our body has every certain function in it to be able to do what we want to imagine in our reality. That's pretty profound right there. They're bringing me back to the early centuries and stuff like that, and they were like really getting into the biology of a human being, and they were saying there was like 50 things in our body that they said had no use, and one of them was the pineal gland, and they literally tried to remove it from a living person to prove that it was not necessary, and it was pretty disgusting. But and then the person went, "Duh." The person just went, "Duh," because there is a purpose. It just was beyond the physical, looking at life in a physical way. So we have this capability within us to be able to, be telepathic, telekinetic, and have teleportation and all of that sort of stuff. It's literally going to free us, but we've got to stop looking outside of ourselves for that. We have to now navigate how our mind is working with us, where our blockages are, why we believe that it's not believable, and all of that sort of thing. So that's another thing they wanted to bring up in these moments as well, because we are going, this is all to do with ascension messages. This is all to do with going into these higher frequencies. So it's, it might be beyond someone that watches me that is only just starting on a spiritual journey, but I'm sure that there's going to be people who trip up over this that will totally understand where I'm coming from. And I want to keep moving with my guides on what I'm supposed to do, because I believe in my path as well. Okay, so yeah, technology, that's so interesting. So even in the retrospect of, we have AI now and all of that, but it's formed its own self, its own identity outside of ourselves. But we have the ability within us to be telepathic and in tune with everything if we are looking at it through the eyes of the Akashic record and so forth. That's pretty cool as well. Hey Annie, good to see you, Sky. Ringing in your ear, having some me earrings today. Me earrings. Yeah, that can happen as we're like tweaking ourselves as well and going into little touching on different vibrations as well. It's like your hearing becomes more acute too. It's like something happens within you and the vibration is then so heightened that you actually hear it. Your physical ear can feel that vibration. It becomes a sound. I wonder what else they're bringing through about that. There is something else about that too, but I want to keep going with this. Power inverted. So this was another message, totally different, unrelated and all that sort of thing, but we'll just go through them all. The eye on the dollar bill represents an inverted third eye from within you. Now we've been taught, like if you go into conspiracy theories and it's the all-seeing eye and oh my God, that's their power over us, but we haven't seen that power from within us. That's why they're saying it's an inverted third eye. As an all-seeing eye outside of you, watching over you, controlling you, it is created because humanity is taught through schooling to only look outside themselves for this power. But once you have found the eye within you, nothing outside of you can be more powerful than your ability to shift your story, not by resisting it, but by accepting it so you can change it. So yeah, everything that the so-called cabal and so forth that have pulled things over us and then tried to present it as a fair game, if we invert it, bring it back into us, we realize we already have that power within us. They're just trying to frighten us by not looking inwards and saying that you can't trust your imagination, you can't trust your intuition. So look at us, we're all powerful. And yet they are actually a mere reflection of the power that we denied ourselves. So if you feel like they're all magical and all powerful and that they're all observing us and all that sort of stuff, then you'll find that you have that ability as well within you. So yeah. Then we go into time. The more humans expand their reality and move out into space where many, many, many species live, they will realize that time does not exist. This is really interesting. The other species live by the conduct of frequency alignment, wisdom, and understanding of their place in the whole as a whole. As one could live for thousands of years with no evolutionary advancement, 1,000 years being a time here, we've got a very long time that we've gone through, no evolutionary advancement, where another species could evolve overnight. Therefore, time has no relevance to the perception of another species. Looking at another species, they don't go, oh, you are, your species was only created 100 years ago. So you're at a baby stage. You can't do that in this. If you go out to space, you won't, and you are like involving yourself into all these other interdimensional extraterrestrial species. That is not irrelevant. Or oh my God, you've been living for 100,000 years more than us, and so that means you're more evolved than us. No, that's not necessarily true. So humanity, because I've only been working with their logical mind, have the sense within them that time is relevant to the evolutional path, and it's not. It's not at all. Time is a concept that humanity have created only working with the logical mind to be able to navigate just this reality that they seeped into, that didn't understand frequency alignment anymore. And so we've gone through that. Now we're moving back into understanding frequency alignment. And frequency alignment doesn't necessarily include time. It just includes an alignment and an understanding. So you could actually flip yourself. Doesn't matter how old you are. You could be a child of 2, and you could be way more mature in your soul's evolution than a 80-year-old, because they didn't learn their path and they were still going around in circles and didn't realize that they needed to accept their intuition and their feminine power back again. You want to meet my new house cat. That's Misty, that's walking in the background there. She's been shaven, so because it's really hot in Australia. Hey. I don't know if she'll come up. She's still a little shy. I only just moved here. Okay, then we have humans believe that everything occurs in a linear fashion, meaning one thing leads to another, causing a result in the future. And if those circumstances played out all over again, then the same outcome would occur. This can happen. It can happen that if, in a practical way, you did practical solutions, practical things, and one step after another, just like when you're driving, you know how to drive. Absolutely, those things can end up in this with a certain outcome that you're going for, and it's the same outcome each time. But there's something else that we're missing here. This can happen if people involved are all holding the same feelings as the first time the circumstance played out. But if one of those people in that circle, say you're working with a couple of people, and you're like, okay, when we do this in our business, then we go through all those scenarios, then it'll come out in this fashion. We will have this outcome. We'll have the final subject matter, or whatever it is that we're seeking. We will have that because we did it last year and we're doing it this year. And then you find that maybe people have changed, maybe people in the business have left and new people are coming, and it didn't quite work the same. And you're like, why didn't it quite work the same? We didn't have the same outcome as we did. We lost money instead of we improved our business, that sort of thing. This is what they want us to become more aware of as well. So a change in, I'll come back to where I was before. This can happen. I'll just reread that bit. This can happen if people involved are holding the same feelings as the first circumstance played out. But if one of those people feels a shift within themselves, a change in perspective, feeling different than the first time, then this in itself would alter the outcome. This is why clearing oneself of all emotional burdens, guilt, desperation and anxiety and depression can make a huge difference to what it is or isn't manifested in your reality. We had the reins all along, but we were focusing only outside of us, meaning, meaning that we only took action like outside of us and thinking that would always create the same outcome. But in holding the same vibration, even with a different action, if you've inverted that, and they're talking about, we had the reins all along, but in focus only outside of us meant we thought the only way to make a difference was to take a different action. But in holding the same vibration, even with a different action, one can find themselves in a similar story as well. So we're, taking that story and you're like, I changed everything, but you still got the same inner whole, feeling of nothing really works for me. We'll still end up in the same outcome, which is why many people keep finding partners and people that treat them the same. Our power has always been within us. So it's like we're now realizing It's not just the power actually within us, it's also, well, we have to accept that first because we haven't accepted that for a very long time. That our vibration, how we perceive our reality. Are you feeling within your own power that things are going to work out, or are you always feeling in your own power within your own will? It never works out for me. Then we have to address that. But if you were, say, doing an action and it worked once, if you don't hold the same vibration and you go back to it's never going to work, then it won't work the next time, no matter how much fine tuning you do in your actions, that you are exactly the same as the first time round. So it has to be a unity of our how we feel about ourselves and our actions playing out too, that work. But I would always say that the feeling that you have is the most important thing, because sometimes if you hold a feeling that feels really good about yourself, then any action that you take is directed by your soul, and so your soul is now navigating you in a clearer path, meaning that that will result in the better end result. I hope you guys are understanding me here. So it's kind of like a unification of realizing action and inner vibe is needing to work together here, but to work specifically with our inner vibe means you're more likely to have, or inner frequency is more likely to have a better outcome than if you were doing the same action outside of yourself and holding different vibrations. Okay, I will leave it that with you guys because it is a little bit confusing. They were going pretty deep. I understand it, but I'm trying to give you a way of saying it so that you can understand it as well. So I'm sorry if that confused you, but I know what I'm trying to say. So maybe I'll be able to put it in a different way next time. Give you some examples. Yeah, I'll leave that there though. Like I was thinking, should I channel into it? And I'm thinking, no, not at this moment. I think I'll just leave that there. We'll go on to, because I've got quite a few that I've written down here. Reincarnation. Reincarnation. Is it good or bad to walk through the light? That's another thing that's going around humanity as well. Some are saying, oh, don't go to the light. Some are saying, go to the light. It can be quite confusing for people, right? But my team was saying it's not about walking into the light and asking, is the light good or bad? As the light will always exist. Light being love, wisdom, all of that sort of stuff. It will always exist. It's it's something that's covering the light that creates the shadow anyway, the darkness. But in the darkness, you can find a lot more about yourself. You can learn a lot about yourself. And so the darkness is necessary for the soul's evolution to be able to take the light away and really go deep into, oh my God, an inverted self is you really realize just how incredible reality is from your soul's perspective. If you have a reality like this reality that has shadow, that has stable things in its material world and all of that, that causes shadow and all of that. So they're saying, really what they're saying though, that just this question means that you are looking outside yourself again. If you are asking yourself, oh my God, when I pass over, am I going to go to the light or do I go into the void? What's the truth? If you're just asking that question, that means you're still looking outside yourself, because you're seeing it is something outside yourself. Is there's a tunnel of light or there's a tunnel of a void, and which one do I go through? That instead, it's about your frequency as you enter the light or love. It's about your frequency. That's all it's about. So in entering, even if you entered the void and your frequency was at a higher stable self, then you will find the light in the void. And if you enter the light and you had a higher stable understanding of yourself. You will also observe the dark, the void. So it's all about your frequency. It's not about the choice that you make outside of you. So this is where humanity's gone a little squiff. We're still thinking someone else is telling us there's a choice to be made outside of us, but it's